Cool. Hi, my name's Leo. I'm the project assistant for Project Echo here up at the Institute for Disability Research Policy and Practice. And I'd like to welcome you to today's Assistive Technology Solutions Echo. And while you're entering, please just remember to enter your name and contact information in the chat so we can all network with each other, just have some good conversation. Just as a reminder, we are recording this echo session for educational and quality improvement purposes. So by participating in this session, you are consenting to being recorded. And if you do not wish to be recorded, you may disconnect from the session. But we really do want to thank you guys for being here today and for your time and your participation and all of the insights, because that's what really makes these sessions meaningful. And we really hope that you'll stay and be part of the conversation today. And Echo is an interactive and participatory community where presenters, stakeholders, and community members all communicate and support each other during a session or during those breakout rooms that we have towards the end. Participants are expected to be engaged in asking case questions after the didactic, but you may also enter your questions in the chat if you'd like, and we can address them as well. And just a plug for some case studies. Case narratives are just a really great way to solidify your skills that you learn in didactics and just receive some really great strategies that you can apply in your everyday work. So if you haven't presented a case narrative yet, you should consider doing so. And if you want to, just email projectscope@usu.edu. We can get you set up with one. And let's also remember when sharing examples to please protect individual privacy. So let's avoid using real first, middle, or last names. And if you're unsure, you're always welcome to check with a hub team member who should all have an asterisk by their name. We're happy to help. This just keeps our space safe and respectful for everyone to participate in. And there are three key components to every Echo session. The first is our subject matter presentation, which today will be given by Colin Robinson from the Trails Adaptive Program up at the University of Utah. And the second would be the case presentation, which I'll be presenting for today. And that third component is just that professional networking that can happen throughout today's Echo session. Let's also please remember to rename your profile to your first and last name, your job title, and your organization. And if you don't know how to do that, you can always click on those three little dots and navigate to rename. And this is also just how to raise your hand. It's a helpful function if you have a question for the facilitator or if you don't want to interrupt someone that's speaking. You can go in the reactions tab and press raise hand, and we can always get that question or comment that you have addressed. Just some quick reminder of Echo session etiquette. Please just remember to respect the presenter by either using chat or raising hands when they're speaking. And let's also keep our questions brief and on topic, as helps everyone get into the conversation. And before you ask that question, we would like it if you could please just introduce yourself and your organization before asking, just to help us facilitate that networking that we have in each Echo session. And last, we always encourage our participants to turn their cameras on, as it really just helps us connect over these virtual Echo sessions. And to get credit for attendance, by filling out the survey that Janelle will be dropping in the chat throughout today's session, you can earn a certificate of attendance for participating in today's session. Many participants actually share these certificates with their employers or supervisors as documentation of ongoing professional learning. So to receive your certificate, make sure you complete that survey that's going to be dropped throughout the chat today. And Canvas is just a great way to access presenter slides, the case recommendations that we get from the breakout rooms, and additional resources from the presenters. So if you'd like an invite to the Assistive Technology Solutions Canvas page, you're welcome to email projectecho@usu.edu, and we're happy to get that set up. And here's just another quick plug for case studies. Again, it's just a really valuable way to get applicable strategies that you can use in your everyday work. And just to correct myself, the email that you're supposed to email for the Assistive Technology Solutions Echo, if you would like to get a case presentation set up, is projectecho@usu.edu. And if you'd like to, you can always follow USU IDRPP's Project Echo on social media by scanning these QR codes. We have a Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And yeah, thank you guys. And I'll hand the time to Colin.
Sweet. All right. Um, Hi everyone, my name is Cullen Robinson. I'm the program coordinator at Trails Adaptive Sports. We are the Adaptive Sports Program at the University of Utah and Nielsen Rehab Center. TRAILS is an acronym. It stands for Technology, Recreation, Access, Independence, Lifestyle, and Sports. At the end, I'm going to ask you all to recite that back to me, so make sure you take some notes on that. We're a little bit of a unique adaptive sports program. We only serve people with physical disabilities and have a hyper focus on complex physical disabilities. We are dedicated to creating an environment for people with those complex physical disabilities that can range from anywhere from spinal cord injury, muscular dystrophy, TBI, traumatic brain injury, stroke, multiple limb amputation, creating an environment for individuals to, after traumatic incident or accident and or diagnosis, to create an environment where people are able to recreate continuously. We do that through sports and exercise recreation programs, education, socialization. We have like a quarterly social event where we'll go over loads of different things, anything from traveling with a disability to yoga to cooking. We also believe that recreation and rehab are kind of intertwined quite drastically. So much so that people that are 2-3 weeks out medically stable are participating in our program with supervision from occupational therapist or physical therapist. Next slide. There we go. We do this with a whole bunch of different people involved. We do this with engineers, respiratory therapists, PTs, OTs, and then this core group of the TRAILS team. Just as an example, my degree is in biology. I wanted to be a nurse and said I didn't like the hospital and left that quite quickly 3 years into nursing school. We want to create an environment for people with complex disabilities so they feel understood. A lot of these people have had experiences in the past with other recreational programs that have not gone super well. Maybe they don't understand, and we want to create that environment for them. And in addition to that, we also create educational opportunities for other programs. My role with TRAILS is run day-to-day operations as well as do any of the training for our more complex pieces of equipment that we develop. Okay. I was asked to answer these questions of how adaptive sports supports quality of life and independence for people with disabilities. I think there's two different ways. First way is like direct impact with the athlete, and that's like pretty immediate and able to see. And then the second way is long-term community impact and innovation.
Skiing, it's independence, it's freedom, it's joy. Those things matter for people in wheelchairs just like they matter for everyone else. Before my injury, I was a skydiving instructor, got over 7,000 jumps. I crashed on landing one time. My life changed in a blink of an eye.
Ski is the world's first piece of adaptive sports equipment that can be controlled independently by someone with a complex disability.
The 7-Box is the straw in my mouth here, and I hold it in my mouth while I'm skiing. And if I pop in it, the skis turn me right. If I sip on it, the skis turn me left.
Using the joystick, moving it left and right, articulates the skis left and right.
This equipment can accommodate people with a huge range of high-level disabilities.
There's 25 skis out there, tens of thousands of people that need and could utilize this technology that don't even know it exists.
We need to do a better job sharing with people that the technology, it's here, it's today. We can do this.
It's really easy to be seen as a chair first and a person second. Skiing has given me a lot of self-worth. I can still get out of my comfort zone and learn new things. Dating has been a little challenging. The other guy I met was just plain boring. And if you're more boring than me, I'm just gonna swipe left on that one.
Everyone should have the right to have competitive dreams and goals and be considered as athletes.
This is a serious group of people who want to compete in competitive events. The University of Utah is working tirelessly to try to include the tetra ski in part of the Paralympics.
Access to competition and the tetra ski provides a huge opportunity for growth.
Getting in the tetra ski, it's just total freedom.
It brings freedom. Freedom.
It's free. It's just freedom.
Okay. Before we dive in, I forgot a pretty big, important part about who we are and what we do. We're a year-round adaptive sports program, so we teach people with disabilities how to mountain bike, alpine ski, Nordic ski, sail, kayak, as well as road cycle. And we do that all free of charge for any level complexity of disability. We also do innovation and create pieces of equipment like you saw, the tetra ski, to allow for more independent access to recreation. I mentioned you work with OTs and PTs and engineers. Before the tetra ski was created, there was this time where alpine skiing was very hyper-focused on what the able-bodied person could do in assisting that individual. This photo right here is a photo of actually people without disabilities somewhere in France or Switzerland. They're on this piece of equipment. They're getting a tour around the mountain. A lot of these instructors will take people from place to place, maybe stop for some wine and some cheese, enjoy the mountain. These are for people that don't really want to learn how to ski and have a very small amount of time, but still want to see the resort. This is a video of that piece of equipment being used. Super awesome, really great, looks like a blast. But the person in the piece of equipment is having no impact on that ski, right? We can all see that. The guy behind is physically driving that individual around. And that is what recreation looked like for people with more complex disabilities prior to the invention of the tetra ski. This is a Colorado-based program, I'm pretty sure. This person, you can see they're waving their hands around. They have all this movement, but they aren't really doing much of anything. That able-bodied person behind them is physically maneuvering and driving them around. This is another style of adaptive sports equipment. It's called the Mountain Man. It's been in use since like 1980. It's my dad helped start a program, and he taught people how to use this piece of equipment. Again, until that creation of a tetra ski, this was the gold standard for people with more complex disabilities. This photo is a program that's trying to do a lot of good. This individual is duct taped into a ski, has his ventilator attached to him, duct tape. His head is duct taped to the helmet, to the ski itself to create head support. Program's trying to do a lot of good. But if we were in this situation as an able-bodied person and got to a ski lesson and that individual, the instructor, asked us to duct tape our boots to our skis, we would all have immediate concerns, right? And Trails tries to answer the question of like, how can these people have equitable recreation? How can this be competitive? How can we make this better? And it started with an idea. So this is the snow cart. This is the precursor for the tetra ski. It's a manual version. It allows people with internal rotation in shoulders and bicep function to be able to independently control the ski. On the left, you can see this guy has good grip and he's able to turn the ski by moving each bar independently. And then on the right side, there's this thing called the Easy Drive, which allows people with hemiparesis or asymmetric bicep function to be able to steer the ski. And this, again, this was the idea behind the Tetra ski, right? Somebody said, why can't we add some tech into this and make this accessible for every person with every level of complexity of disability? And the Tetra ski started off as like an engineering project, essentially, through the University of Utah, and then has been built over the last 10 years to a product that is used globally. So this is the snow cart in action. All of our lessons for people in the snow cart or the Tetra ski will have an instructor with them. The instructor is there just in case the ski tips. Our goal is to do nothing. You can see the tether on the back that's attached to the instructor. It's kind of bouncing around. This is in Colorado somewhere, skiing through deep snow. I mean, that's like the best feeling in the entire world. It's like this, you're like attached to the ground, but not attached to the ground. Everything kind of slows down and you feel like you're kind of floating around. So I mentioned like direct impact on individuals with complex disabilities, and I mentioned earlier in the presentation about how we see people that have either recently been injured and cleared to adventure to us. We're gonna call her Becca for not sharing her name. Becca, she's 3 weeks post-injury, and we are in the rehab hospital in the basement. My old coworker Keegan is doing fit with her to show her how the ski works and give her an idea of like what recreation could look like for her in the future. This is Becca 1 year and like 2 months later. You can see that she is absolutely railing turns at Powder Mountain. I want to have everyone think about the photo that they saw of the guy on the ventilator with the red duct tape. Bree is also on a ventilator. She has the vent attached to the back of a ski, and it can fold out onto her arms when she's loaded onto the chairlift. Also, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to just like kind of raise their hand and ask. I, typically don't do this like formal presentation style. I'm more of like a round table kind of person. So if anyone has any questions or something's not making sense, please ask me. On these style of lessons, when we have someone that is on event, we do have 2 respiratory therapists with us as well that allow the instructor to worry about the instructing and none of the medical complexities. And then the respiratory therapist, who you can see kind of floating behind us, will be in control of managing any kind of medical needs. And you can see instructor totally slack tether behind. The instructor also has a remote that allows that individual to override the ski as well. That way, if there's any kind of like emergency need for a stop, or if someone kind of cuts us off, we're able to left, right with the instructor joystick. Here we are sailing with the same Becca. She has her entire family with her on the sailboat. The sailboat was also developed at the University of Utah. She has 2 black tubes with orange tips on it that allow her to control the sail. And then she has a joystick in her right hand that allows her to control the rudder. For somebody that may not have any movement at all, you can use both sip and puff tubes with combinations of sips and puffs and different tubes to control the entirety of the boat with no motor plan, no motor control at all. I'm struggling not to use people's real names, Leo. This is hard. This is Ben. We'll say his name is Ben. Ben is from Idaho. How can we like type in the chat how old we think Ben is? We'll get some answers from Leo. What do we have for answers so far? Oh, I can see
We
two.
got 5, 8. I think he's 3. So does Chanel. 5, 7, 4, 6,
Yeah,
6, 7.
yeah. So Ben is 3 years old in this photo. Uh, before Ben and his family found out about trails, he was skiing in his dad's backpack at a small mountain in Idaho. They found out about us through a doctor that he comes and visits like every handful of months at the university hospital system. They were like, okay, like, this is a long drive. This is a lot for us to get down here. Like, how can we make sure that this is a good experience, right? Um, we created a simulation, a computer game, essentially. On the left, you can see the simulation. It's a real world simulator. So all of the runs that you can ski on with the simulator are pulled directly from the resorts that we ski at. It feels surprisingly similar to when you're actually skiing. Ben came down for a visit before. He was in the simulator, practiced a whole bunch, and then the next day went out skiing. This isn't Ben on the right, but this is a 6-axis simulator that we created that kind of gives people the idea of like what it may feel like to be in the ski with G forces, those kinds of things. And this is Ben after his simulator session the next day, making beautiful turns on very mellow terrain at Powder Mountain. Ben and his family continuously come to visit us every year. They make like a handful of trips down. They try and combine a little bit of therapy as well as recreation, so that it's not all just one, unfortunate trip to the doctor. Typically, for sailing and for our skiing, we try and get people people out 5 times. Can anyone guess the percentage of people that ski 5 times in 1 year across America? This is another type into the chat kind of thing.
I said 21%, but people are saying 10%, 10%, 15%, 25%.
Okay. We all are obviously from Utah and assume that everyone skis all the time. 1.5 to 1.7% of America's population skis 5 or more days during the year. So all things considered, skiing 5 times in a year is a very rare thing, but skiing with this much independence, with this level of complexity of disability, is super rare. Going back to the photo of Becca with her family on board, how many people do you think sail 5 days a year in America, in the US?
There was a point 0.5 there. Sorry, I keep reading them. I feel
No,
like
it's
you can see
all
them,
good.
but I'm just gonna keep reading them
Yeah,
out.
that's
But
fine.
5%, I said 2%, 5%, 3%. So now everyone's going a little lower.
Yeah.
3%, 3, 5, 0.5%.
It is less than 1% of people in America will sail at least 5 days during the year. Um, the fact that these individuals are getting out and sailing that even are on vents is like it's a pretty astonishing and amazing outcome of this program. Okay. Okay. This is, we'll say, Bree. Bree traveled from Texas to come skiing with us. Bree is on a non-invasive vent. Um, and her wheelchair fit is pretty complex and needs to have a very specific position on in her wheelchair for to be able to breathe, essentially. I don't know if you guys can see, there's no sip and puff tube, which is what that lady in the first video started talking about, how she controls the ski. There's no sip and puff tube, and the joystick is on the ground. Um, this was our first individual that we skied with that was utilizing EMG controls. So we're harnessing little electrical signals that are firing in muscles and turning that into movement on the ski.
And
This is,
sorry to interrupt here, but
go ahead.
you have a question in the
Yeah,
chat from Kate. She's asking, is this equipment that people take with them back to their homes, or do they have to always visit your organization in Utah to utilize the equipment?
great question. There, at the end of this, beginning of this winter, there'll be 36 different skis across the globe. We do not sell or lease these pieces of equipment to individuals, just because right now we want this to reach as far as we can. There's a 4-day training associated to be able to instruct the ski with the purchase of the ski, and because of that, we don't want anyone to get behind the ski that isn't trained. I mean, the consequences of rolling the ski are very high. So you have to have a lot of training, a lot of experience behind the ski. Kate, does that answer your question? Yeah. This is the non-Bluetooth version of the EMG. Again, this was an engineering project. This we were like, we have this idea. Can we put this into play and connect it with the ski? This individual, her name is Monica. Her whole capstone for school was to create these EMG sensors in help with our main engineer Ross. But you can see she is flexing, moving her body, and then creating responses with the ski.
And then, sorry, I just have a really quick question too.
Yeah, of course.
Do you guys kind of work based off of, let's say if someone wants or like needs a piece of equipment, or like, how do you go about, what was my question? I swear, I've lost my train of thought, but, um, like, do you just go off of like the popularity of the sport? I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, so since you're in Utah, is it just a given that you're making more adaptive equipment for winter sports, such as like skiing and alpine skiing? Or do you guys kind of co take requests from clients and they say, hey, I really want to play this sport. Is there a way you guys would be able to have something for me to access that?
Yeah, that's a great question. A lot of times it's off of what equipment is already available and out there and adaptable, right? So the snow cart was already made by a company, and we realized that we could just take some adaptations and some computer programming to make it accessible for individuals with more complex disabilities. We have a sailboat. We're working on a mountain bike, and then we are also in the process. We just started an e-foil project, which is like an electric surfboard that has a big wing underneath that allows you to float out of the water. A group of engineers just started creating like a platform for that to work. Again, based off of a product that we knew already existed, so we didn't have to create an entire new product. We're just adapting that product to fit people with complex disabilities.
Thank you.
These are all really great questions because they're just like, this is my life, and I sometimes have a hard time articulating that. So please continue to ask. All right. Here we are skiing. The EMGs are on her left and right forearms, and she is just doing this with very, very little movement, just firing these muscles left and right. Again, you can see no duct tape, no duct tape, no anything that would make you question like, why am I here? vent is nicely placed on the back of the ski. Instructor is skiing in line behind her. This is me behind her. I know it looks like there's tension on the tether, but there is no tension. It's like if I were to reach my hand forward, the tether would become slack. I also, again, I have a remote in my hand as well. This family has come out. They came out last year. They're already planning another trip this year, and they're also looking into going to other places to go and travel to ski. I think Kurt has a question.
Yeah, Colin, this is really interesting. I just had a quick question for you about, I mean, you always see these people with the USU jackets from your organization, I'm sure. But maybe you'll touch on this later. But the funding and the people that go, are they volunteers? Do they get paid by the families to make it accessible? And especially like the respiratory therapists, and you've got kind of a crew with this person skiing. Just curious if you're going to touch on it later, hit it later. If not, you just share with me. That's really an interesting. It'd be interesting to know how that's all funded.
Yeah, it's a great question, and people see our program and often ask that because we have a lot of resources to kind of put in. Our theory is like if it takes 7 individuals to get one person out, we're going to do that instead of taking 25 people out. Myself, I'm paid through the university hospital. All of our equipment, everything that's purchased, everything you've seen so far in the videos has been provided through grant funding. The respiratory therapists are volunteering their time to be out on the hill. One of the bigger picture things, people that are on constant ventilation right now have no access elsewhere to adaptive sports. There is a overarching body for adaptive sports called Move United, and they provide insurance for a lot of programs across the country. They do a great job at educating. They provide insurance. They do all of this great work, but their insurance company has a pretty hard stop on providing recreation for people that are on vents for skiing and water sports. And we're working on creating a training and an education for other programs and companies to then be able to allow this population of people to have access to recreation. And honestly, like, people travel all of the time by themselves with their caregivers. Like, what is the difference if they're skiing and have a respiratory therapist, and this isn't just done willy-nilly. We've done lots of testing. We do lots of training at the beginning of each year. It's not like we just like, oh, let's just try this and see what happens. There's a lot of thought that goes into this. I don't want to make it seem like a regular thing. It is extremely intense and very nerve-wracking sometimes for our instructor and family to trust these random people I just met. But again, I'm paid through the university. We have 5 other auxiliary staff members, and then we all of our purchasing of equipment, anything that comes through is funded through grants. Programs can purchase the ski with a lease for $30,000, let's say, and they're able to. That comes with like training, and then they have the ski for 5 years. We want the ski to be on a lease so that no one gets behind the ski that isn't allowed to be behind it. And then also at the end of those 5 years, we just want the ski back to like see what is wearing, what is happening with the ski, so we can upgrade it or fix some parts and pieces for it. Awesome. Okay, a little bit of difference. I know we've seen a lot of snow and water. We're going to dive a little bit into mountain biking. For namesake, this person is Gloria. Gloria has a little bit of a lower level spinal cord injury. You can see she has hand function right now. This was one of her first experiences mountain biking. She's somewhere in Colorado. She is a Utah resident. Doesn't look super intense. Knowing Gloria, she is extremely nervous about a lot of different things. Rode enough times with us to figure out how to purchase her own bike, and these bikes are not cheap. They cost just around $15,000 to $20,000. Rode enough with us, worked a lot on skills, mountain biking skills specifically, and then also working with myself and our team figured out what she needs and how to direct able-bodied people around her to give her access to different things. I worked with her for like 3 or 4 years so far here in Utah, and last year she had a goal of going to see Delicate Arch. And on the photo on the right, that's her at Delicate Arch. I don't know if you guys have hiked or been up there. It is like the least accessible trail you've ever seen in your entire life. So she had to help guide people what she needed to get to this point. She also went camping with her partner for the first time. They did a mountain biking trip over Pioneer holiday, which is awesome. You know, when I met her, I thought there was no way that she would ever do anything like that. And you know, she's taking mountain biking trips, going on adventures, doing other things outside of programming directly with us, and now has all of these skills to go travel, go do all of these fun, adventurous things like we all enjoy doing in Utah. All right, I've talked a lot. We're gonna go back to sailing. Man, coming up with different names. This is Jen. Jen was in the video earlier. She is sailing in this video. Again, Jen has no movement in any extremities at all. She has movement in her neck, but is using the two sip and puff tubes to sail. Jen's also on a ventilator. A respiratory therapist is on board, and the instructor is there taking a video with this for us. Okay. This is Jen. This is Jen. Jen works for us now. Jen was somebody that was in the hospital, found out about trails. Jen is now our volunteer coordinator. She's probably going to kill me that I picked this photo of all the ones that are on here, but we meet every day and discuss volunteer needs for the upcoming weeks and months for different programs. She obviously has a whole lot of different tech to allow her to use her computer, phone, all of these different kinds of things. But she's a vital member to our team. I have this video in almost all of the presentations I give, and this one's going to be kind of hard for you guys to see because I haven't talked about sailing a whole bunch. In the middle of the video of the sailboat is the mother of this individual in the back of the boat. Can anyone see what's missing from this picture or this video? This is another type your answer in. Oop.
I don't really know much about sailing, so I don't know what's missing.
Totally fair.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. We have enough trust in our technology and in the development of skills, right? This is not her first time sailing, that she went out sailing without her instructor. The instructor is on the rescue watercraft beside her, and she is sailing with her mom independently without any assistance. They're just going out for a cruise. Total
And
control of the boat.
the two people in the chat did get it right. They said the instructor and then the respiratory
Yeah.
therapist and other instructors. Sorry.
No, it's all good. Okay. This kind of like ends my like talk about our program itself and direct impact on individuals. Does anyone have any questions before I go any farther? And that could be anything that's coming to mind right now, because I'm going to go like a complete different direction real quick.
I just wanted to say, Colin, again, this is Kurt. Yesterday we had our disability awareness echo session, and Kelly Hess, who works with the Institute, talked about accessibility versus inclusion. And it seems like that's exactly what you're doing. So accessibility is the guy that's duct tape, right?
Yeah.
But inclusion becomes they control what's going on and they're able to do what they want and they're able to go with their mom or whoever it is to have that sailing adventure. So it's really interesting. I've been in the disability field for almost 30 years and looking at what's happened in the last 30 years, going from, okay, we'll put a ramp to a building and call that good enough, to what you guys are doing with regard to the controlling it yourself, making those decisions yourself, deciding how aggressive you want to be or how not aggressive you want to be. I just think it's such a great thing that you guys do to bring it beyond the accessibility and toward that inclusion, particularly for recreation. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Steve is asking, do you rent out your equipment if someone from, let's say, our independent living center wanted to borrow your equipment?
Yeah, it kind of depends. We do have like a loaner program. There's a couple of steps that we need to have for that, though. We want to see that that individual knows how to utilize that piece of equipment. And we only do it for specific pieces, specific sports. So we do it for Nordic skiing as well as road cycling. The cost for mountain biking, the cost for the tetra ski is just too great. And we obviously the mountain bikes again they cost $20,000, and the chance of somebody rolling without knowing how to use that piece of equipment is pretty high. And we don't want that cost to be put on somebody else or back on the university. So we don't loan out like mountain biking equipment or the tetra ski or the sailboat. We never had somebody ask to loan out like kayaking equipment. However, I'm sure we could figure out a way to do that. We do loan out. There's a in level of complexity of disability. Tetra ski accommodates every single person with a physical disability. There is a ski called the mono ski, which you guys saw in the first slide. It's typically designed for individuals with lower level spinal cord injuries or spina bifida, people that have tricep function basically, is the big muscle we need to be able to mono ski. And we do loan those out, but with the fact that we know that that person A knows how to ski and has safe transport and has somebody there to help with them. So we have like underlying knowledge we need to have about that individual to make sure that they are safe and that that piece of equipment comes back in one piece.
And I got another question in the chat from Adam. I don't know if you'd want to come off mute, Adam, and expand on this. And expand on this too, but it says tech costs usually shrink. So he's asking, do you have an idea of when it might become more affordable?
If someone wants to donate $2 million so we can spread the skis all over the globe, that would be awesome. We're not we this is the biggest year we've had. We made 8 skis this summer. Um, and if I'm gonna be honest, Adam, like my role has very little to do with money and very much so to do with like impact with that individual. So I can't really speak to that. Ideally, we'd love to make them cheaper, but because they're being made at such an infrequent rate right now, that the cost is a little bit higher. Okay, I'm gonna move on. All right, I think I'm pretty close to my time, so I'm gonna rip through these slides and show some more videos. Is that good with you, Leo?
You're totally good. You can take as much time as you need.
Okay,
You're good.
awesome. All right, so long term or community impact, right? So we talked a lot about direct impact with recreation, but like, what does this mean for um, people in our community outside of recreation? This is the Nielsen Rehab Hospital up in like just below North Salt Lake. Um, it has 70 inpatient rooms in the hospital. It has a huge amount of technology in the hospital. I'm gonna give you guys like a rundown of like what that looks like right through some videos right now. Inside the hospital, not designed to look like a hospital, designed to look like someplace welcoming and warm. You notice all the lights are a little bit not as harsh. It looks warm, welcoming, uh, all purposeful, right? Like you don't want this first traumatic experience to be then sent to a place where you have this like awful lighting and uninspiring, no artwork, no videos, no nothing, right? That's a bad first experience back into the world. Um, this is like a view of our
So,
OTPT room where
sorry to
people.
interrupt real quick, but
Mhm.
your screen is like flashing the picture, so it's going like black and then it's flashing the slide a bit. So maybe go back a
Okay.
slide and then forward a slide and see if that fixes it. Yeah.
Okay. Am I still sharing my screen?
No.
Okay, perfect. Let me share again.
Sorry, Colin.
No, it's all good. Thank you for letting me know.
Yeah, that's great.
Better?
That's great. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Couple of things about this room. The longest walking track when the hospital was built was the longest walking track in the U.S. It has access to stairs and a whole bunch of other things. So people that have suffered some kind of stroke or have an incomplete spinal cord injury can learn to regain functionality in a safe fashion. Um, Again, I'm not an OT or a PT. I can't really speak too much to this. However, in the basement of the hospital, this is where like our rubber meets the road for us. In the basement of the hospital, we have this thing called the mobility garage. This is where I forget the fake name I gave that first individual, but this is where we saw that individual the first time doing her fitting. Basement of the hospital, right? Access to recreation right away. Uh, Again, basement of the hospital. This is where everything that you saw, Tetra ski, sailboat, all the accessories that go with that is made. In the basement of the hospital, everything that you saw in those videos was created here. Beautiful view of a room looking outside in the rehab hospital. I said where the rubber meets the road about 5 minutes ago, but this is where it starts to all connect, where rehab and recreation kind of start to cross.
Mac, please turn on the lights. Mac, let's watch cable. Mac, please turn off the clock. Mac, turn off the TV. Mac, please open the door. Mac, change the temperature to 72 degrees. Mac, please open the blinds.
We'll skip this one. So when you have this traumatic experience, no matter what level of injury or level of disability you have, you're able to control everything that's movable in the hospital room with an iPad, with voice control, or through a joystick or sip and puff tube. Pretty crazy, pretty wild. And you're like, why does this involve with adaptive rec? Like, why is he talking about this? So all of the technology in the hospital stemmed from the development of the Tetra ski. And when the money for the hospital was given from the Nielsen Foundation, they don't want technology to live within or things that are developed to live within the hospital. They want it to go elsewhere. So this girl, again, the girl that works with us and was in Nielsen Rehab, is taking some of that technology from the hospital and putting it into her house to make her house more accessible so that she can live more independently without the need of caretakers and anything else. She obviously has to have some caretaking needs, but it's far more accessible for her to live within the house. Again, idea, it works in 25-degree weather. It's got to work in a climate-controlled hospital. That video is 5 minutes long. I feel like I'm running over. No, good. Okay, we'll show it.
The Tetra Ski Express is a first of its kind adaptive ski race using some innovative technology that allows people with the highest level disabilities to ski independently.
The Tetra ski can be controlled either with a joystick or with your breath, with tiny sips and puffs to send signals to the electric actuators that control the skis. In addition to the Tetra ski, we'll also be racing with the snow cart today, which is the same frame as the Tetra ski, but allows someone with upper extremity strength to be able to control those skis independently. Brian McKenna was a patient of ours at the Nielsen Rehabilitation Hospital. After his spinal cord injury, he was our test pilot for the Tetra ski. So he did a lot of the early work and crashing and burning and getting it to where it is today for the race. We're here today because of Brian, and we're going to have a great race to honor him and all the other racers here today.
You see a growing number of athletes who have never been able to identify themselves as athletes. They have been skiing, but they've been skied down the hill, and now they are in charge of the ski. That is the change in the adaptive ski culture we have to see.
The energy level here is like super high. Everyone's like cheering for everyone, and that just makes it even more fun. You know, it's so unique to be doing something like this. Everyone's just stoked to be here.
This was amazing. I just love the environment that we're in, and then I love this race that's happening today. So I just feel inspired and amazing, and I'm just excited for sure.
People want to race, they want to beat each other, they want to just perform at the highest level that they can. They want to be thought of as an athlete, the same way all of us do.
Fourth is clear.
3, 2, 1.
Such independence. It feels incredible to just fly down the mountain.
What's blowing my mind today is bringing out athletes that can't even breathe on their own, that require a ventilator for every breath. They're also racing on the same course and at the same level of performance.
The more the message gets out there, the more people are getting interested and good things are happening. It's like a snowball effect. It starts to roll and it grows bigger and bigger.
This is not an individual program thing. This is a global phenomena. It's a change in how we look at this sport. We need people from other programs, other parts of the country and the world to elevate this sport. And we just need to figure out how to raise money together and get more of these skis out there wherever they're needed. The Tetra ski was just the first Tetra product. There's already a boat that uses the same control system, and we are just going to take every activity that people want to do one at a time, and we're going to Tetrify it so that we can all share the same hobbies, the same sports, and at the same level.
We all know 2034 Winter Olympics are coming to Utah. This was a pretty surreal moment for me when I saw this. I was in the airport traveling somewhere, and I looked up, and on every single one of the screens, I saw the Tetra ski. This is the bid video for Salt Lake.
In Utah, there's a spirit that's been growing for the past 2 decades. You can see it in our kids who carve through childhood on skis and skate.
Right there. Looked up all over the TVs. Every single TV in Salt Lake Airport in the Delta area was, I saw that. It was pretty wild. We do have a hope of 2034 creating a new alpine ski classification for individuals with more complex disabilities to be able to compete. Right now, the only sport that allows people with that complexity disability to compete is bocce. Great, awesome that it's there, love it, but bocce is not racing. It's not skiing. It's not something that a lot of these people enjoy doing. That's it. Questions?
You guys are always welcome to drop those questions in chat or raise your hand or just come off mute to ask. But I just want to thank you for giving your time to us today, Colin, and for presenting on your program. I think you guys are doing some really great things. And I think it's just really cool to see all those videos and see the participants really, just the impact that it's had on the participants. I really liked how one of them even said that it's really just, it's increasing their independence and they're just feeling included. And I mean, I'm going back to Kurt's point as well, but it's almost just this accessibility and the inclusion. And I think you guys are really just doing a great job in both of those aspects. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Let me see. Then I'll give it a few more seconds if there are any questions. But you honestly did such a great job that you might not have any.
Great. One other thing, Utah's a pretty great place to have a disability. There's four other adaptive sports programs in the valley, or in Park City. There's one in Ogden called Ogden Valley Adaptive Sports. There's the National Ability Center, Wasatch Adaptive Sports, and there's one up in Logan. Each one of those programs serves anyone with a disability. So we are different in that we only serve people with physical disabilities, but those other programs will serve anyone with a disability, whether it's cognitive, stress disorder, anything like that. They will serve that population of people.
So I dropped those websites into chat throughout, and as I was also looking at it, just so people know, some of the recreation centers in the valleys or throughout the state also have adaptive recreation. So like Salt Lake County has some great adaptive recreation.
Good golfing.
I just want to thank you again. I'm going to move on to the case presentation though. Again, you guys are always welcome to drop those questions in the chat if you just thought of one, but I'm going to move along to the case presentation. Let me just share my screen here. Sorry, it's taking me a long. There we go. All right. So I'm Leo again. I work up here as program assistant at the IDRPP. Just a bit of background on the case. So we have
Leo,
Mason
nothing
here.
sharing.
No way. Sorry. I forgot to click share. There we go. Nice. All right, we have Mason here. He's actually an 8-year-old boy with spastic cerebral palsy. It's affecting the right side of his body, so it's right hemiplegia. He enjoys being active, and he recently became interested in pickleball after watching his older sister play. And he does walk mostly independently, but wears a custom right leg ankle foot orthosis to stabilize his ankle, to prevent toe dragging, and to also improve his balance. So for long distance community outings or traveling from the parking lot to distance in sports fields. His family tries to use a lightweight adaptive stroller to conserve his energy, but that's rarely, but we'll get touch on that. And at school, Mason does receive OT and PT services, so occupational and physical therapy. He does use a slant board and adapted writing tools in the classroom to support handwriting and positioning. And he also uses Velcro fasteners on some school materials to improve independence with his classroom tasks. So the primary area of concern here is that Mason really wants to participate in one of his local community programs with children his age, but he and his family are just unsure of what adaptations or assistive technology they can afford while letting him participate safely, successfully, and confidently. There are a few functional challenges. The first would be the weakness and decreased coordination in his right arm and hand, which would make it difficult to maintain a secure grip on a standard pickleball paddle. He does have limited fine motor control, which may affect his ability to quickly adjust his grip or accurately strike the ball in the sweet spot. And there are mild balance challenges and slower reaction times when moving laterally across the court. Muscle tightness and fatigue, particularly after repeated movements or prolonged activity. And sometimes he just gets generally frustrated when he can't really perform the activities as easily as his peers, but he still remains really highly motivated to participate and to just be with his peers. So some goals here. We want Mason to be able to participate alongside peers in the community program, pickleball program, and other adaptive or other recreational sports programs that they have at his area. We also want to increase his independence while playing any of those sports, and specifically pickleball in this situation, and using adaptations only as needed to improve confidence and enjoyment in recreational sports to continue it on in the future. We also want to develop his physical skills, social relationships, and we just want him to keep this kind of interest in physical activity. And some barriers, again, it's just standard pickleball equipment may not really be designed for his grip strength and motor control. Some of the recreation staff do have really limited experience with adaptive equipment, adaptive sports, assistive tech, and managing mobility fatigue, and even with disability or the disability community. Mason does worry about standing out from his peers if his equipment does look noticeably different from theirs. And Mason's family is unfamiliar with adaptive rec options, and they really want to ensure that these modifications promote just participation without limiting his independence. Just some additional information. He lives with his parents and he has an 11-year-old sister. They're really supportive and encouraging of him. His parents always value inclusion and they want Mason to participate in the community recreation programs when possible. And Mason does have experience using assistive tech in educational settings, yet he's never actually used adaptive equipment during sports or recreational activities. And his family, as I stated before, does own that lightweight adaptive stroller, but they bring it out rarely because Mason really doesn't like it, and it obviously makes him feel younger than his peers. So, but on the flip side of that, that sometimes results in Mason walking longer distances, which increases his physical activity before he starts the sport. And just some community questions. The ones in bold are who should be involved in helping Mason participate successfully and what unique role does each person play? And if resources were limited, where would you focus your efforts first? The third is imagine Mason has completed his first few months at the recreation program for pickleball. What would you hope he, his family, and the recreation staff would say about the experience? And that last question is what could the team do to ensure Mason continues participating in recreation beyond the pickleball program? But yeah. Am I in room
One. So everybody should
Thank you.
have their room. Welcome back, everybody. We're just waiting.
Did we get pulled back in?
Yes, I think everybody is back.
Sorry, I didn't see the warning. We were just in the middle of a. We're good. Thank you.
Well, that's
Did you
how
want
it
to
goes.
share what you guys were
I,
talking about, Kurt?
I thought I hit a wrong button. I just came back in on accident, so I apologize. No, I'm good to go in the order that I'm supposed to go in. Thank you, Leo.
No, I'll have you go first. I'll have you go first.
Okay, so we were on that first question about who should be involved in this type of stuff. We talked about making sure that parents are involved. Parents are help the kiddos learn how to advocate. So helping this little young man learn how to advocate for himself. We talked about UCAT or other organizations like UCAT that can help build adaptive devices to help facilitate that. We talked about Eric, who's from the school district, talked about the professionals, the adaptive PE teachers, the PTs, the OTs, those kind of stuff. But he made an interesting point about the importance of having other kids, specifically in the school district, kind of either share ideas of how to adapt equipment or how to adapt the rules so that everybody can be involved equally. And he said, he says, you get the adults and the professionals out of the way, but the kids will really do a great job, and maybe even better than the professionals, of making sure that it's equitable, that everybody has an opportunity to participate and be competitive in the sport. So something like pickleball. So that was what we had.
Hey, that sounds great. I'm pretty positive. Were there only two groups, you know?
No, it's you or Lisa's group next.
Okay, let's do Lisa. Sorry, you're on mute.
I was taking notes as well as leading the discussion. So
Me too.
we hoped that Mason would enjoy it and do it more because we got the two questions. Let me see. I'm gonna read the question that we had. Imagine Mason has completed his first few months of the rec program for pickleball. What would you hope he and his family and the recreation staff would say about his experience? We were hoping that there would be a positive one. We hope that he would be able to use it more and not focus on what he looks like to others, but just focus on the joy that he was having in playing it. And then Jody Lynn said maybe they would like to look at like a football receiver grip on the paddle, or maybe have a football glove that may be able to hold it better and decorate with some favorite superhero on the outside of it with a little bit of extra support. And then she also said that maybe that plastic OT substance that they put on some things could cover the inside of the glove that would help it grip better for him. And I thought that was a great idea.
Hey, those sounds like you guys had a good conversation.
We
And the
did.
football grip too. I never thought of that one, but that's really smart. Our group, we actually got the fourth question, just making sure of how we could ensure that Mason continues participating in sports and just recreation programs in general. I think Steve mentioned, which is honestly really important, we just need to make sure that he's having fun or else he'll just quit doing it. I think that's always important. It's a good reminder to go back to the basics and say, hey, is Mason actually having fun with what we're doing here? Our group also talked about just different resources and different adaptive programs that would tailor and suit Mason's needs or his wants to play pickleball. And we also talked about maybe changing the vernacular around some of the devices or assistive technology he's using, specifically not calling the stroller a stroller because that might make him feel a little younger or that just might make him feel uncomfortable. So just thinking about changing the vernacular and maybe calling it a different name and just getting him more comfortable with using that equipment as well. So yeah, we just had some really good conversations and some good resources. I just want to thank you guys all for being here and for participating in those breakout rooms. Just as a quick reminder, our next Assistive Technology Solutions session is going to be on September 1st, and we will be having Tom Bowman present on low tech to high tech mobility solutions. So that should be a great session. If you haven't yet, please make sure to take that survey for a certificate of attendance that Janelle's been dropping in throughout the chat. And if you'd like to be invited to our Canvas page to view the presenter slides and to access additional resources, email projectecho@usu.edu and we can get you set up. But thank you guys, and I'll give you 5 minutes back of your time.